This review was made possible by contributions from viewers like you.
Hey guys, as has been well established, I love the Muppets, and I'm always looking forward to their next project. Unfortunately, somebody at Disney Plus decided that the next Muppets project should make the Muppets relevant. What's wrong with that, you might be asking? Namely the fact that even at the height of their popularity, the Muppets were never relevant. They were never up with the times. When they were brand new, they still felt nostalgic and timeless. Granted, variety shows were all the rage in the 70s, but the original Muppet Show was dressed up to look like an old vaudeville showcase which nobody had seen in decades. 30-odd years later, the Muppets would find themselves on YouTube, where they're still doing their classic shtick of singing, dancing, and telling jokes, harking back to the days of the original Muppet Show, and dropping the occasional parody of how their contemporaries use it. And for the most part, it's been great. For all of the struggles that the Muppets go through in the process of putting on a show or a movie, it looks like this might be the medium in which they can casually thrive. Sadly, this wasn't good enough for Disney Plus, and thus we have Muppets Now, where the idea was to make them into a bunch of influencers. I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me, since technically I'm part of the influencer culture, but putting the Muppets into this niche is a terrible idea. Again, the Muppets are supposed to be nostalgic, but with the way that internet culture is constantly evolving, this concept is doomed to date itself quickly and poorly, as you'll soon see. Before we take a look at the Muppets' latest outing, it should be pointed out that it's made of only 6 episodes, and there are a total of 6 segments between them. Just for a point of reference, the original Muppet Show's first 6 episodes contained 43 segments, and that's not even including the backstage B-plots or cutaways to Statler and Waldorf heckling the night away. I guess I should be thankful that technically this only gives us less to talk about, but at the same time, the Muppets should not be this creatively bankrupt.
You're watching Muppets Now, streaming directly from the Muppet Studio!
Good lord, I want to like Matt Vogel's Kermit. I'm really trying to like Matt Vogel's Kermit. Sometimes he's really good, sometimes he sounds like Kermit should sound. But too many times he's just... Blech. Who are you, sir? What have you done with Kermit?
Bad frog! Bad frog!
It's bad enough that Disney had to sack Steve Whitmire, but why did they have to replace them with Constantine?
Oh hell, I could do a better Kermit the Frog.
Oh, hey Shade Nocturne, fellow reviewer who appeared in my review for Thundercats Roar.
Now available at patreon.com/bobshow.
Hello again. And this show might be all kinds of bad, but at least we know this can't possibly be worse than Thundercats Roar. Right?
If I hadn't already seen the entire series, I would say that you just jinxed it. But anyway, let's hear it.
Hear what?
Your Kermit the Frog impression.
I've, got a cold.
Besides, I can think of much better voices for you to do. After all, you were the only reason I was able to get through Thundercats Roar.
Hey.
You were one of the only reasons I was able to get through Thundercats Roar.
I'm glad I could help in whatever small way I could.
Speaking of help, I saw that you just finished your review for Alpha and Omega 6. If you need any help with the other 2, you know how to contact us.
Yep, just spontaneously pop into your video somehow.
You do plan on reviewing the last 2 Alpha and Omega movies, don't you?
I've actually got a really different type of review coming out next I'm super excited for. Probably out in a few more weeks. An original song from my SoundCloud I wanted to release a video for. Then I've got a Patreon request for a Disney movie. Some live streams that I've not set in stone yet. And maybe after that I'll finally knock them out. Though I'm definitely not going to be returning to Jasper Park too soon. I mean, drugs, alcohol, and all this friggin' therapy is getting expensive.
Sounds great. Can't wait to see it.
And I can't wait to hear it.
Easy.
Oh, he's very easy to listen to.
Okay, I think I need to get out of here before Raven's wandering ear gets me in trouble again.
Yes, you do that.
Bye, Shade.
Later, guys. Always fun interrupting your reviews.
As I was saying, I also know that this is going to be a weird thing to criticize, but these graphics are too clean. The whole show is about Scooter uploading these individual segments, but it looks like he's doing it from a custom operating system. One thing that's always been constant about the Muppets is that they're just barely scraping by. They're all either living under the same roof, or staying in bus station lockers, and you can't convince me that the Electric Mayhem doesn't sleep in their bus while they're touring. Them barely living within their means and still putting on a heck of a show is part of their charm. In this case, they should be working on what looks like an old Windows 95 machine using a dial-up connection. And the camera shouldn't be zooming in all over the place. We didn't need shaky cam when Kermit was introducing his special guest stars, and we don't need that here. Speaking of Kermit, why isn't he the one gathering all of these bits so he can present them to us? Or what about Walter, since he's the new guy and is probably the most familiar with this kind of tech? On the topic of characters, we have a new face joining us for the show, Joe the Legal Weasel. His shtick is to pop up every now and then and give us warnings of don't try this at home, followed by a dad joke, followed by the most pained laughing since Arthur Fleck.
I rest my case.
Good grief.
If only they put this much effort into being funny, as they did into being not funny.
And why do we need a new unfunny character? Don't we already have Fozzie for that?
Unfortunately, there's a hierarchy of how wrong or offensive these different bits are, so let's start off by talking about the least wrong and offensive bit, Pepe'S Unbelievable Game Show. Minor point here, but I gotta say it anyway. If you're going to have your title come into frame via sticks, just have it be real physical titles on real physical sticks. It's the Muppets! Keep it cheap! Anyway, the game show revolves around a bunch of little games that Pepe makes up on the spot. The points he arbitrarily awards mean nothing, and it just makes you wish that you were watching Whose Line Is It Anyway? They start things off with a staring contest, which does not involve one of our human guests competing with one of our Muppet characters who is incapable of blinking. Opportunity? Consider yourself missed.
I will never blink.
And for some reason, Scooter is trying to keep any kind of cohesion within this show. Scooter's just supposed to be a gopher, working behind the scenes. Shouldn't it be Kermit trying to keep this show from falling into chaos? And if Scooter's actually a part of this show and he knows how bad it is, why is he even bothering to upload it in the first place? Why isn't he just dumping it into the trash can? At one point, Pepe sets up a competition for who can scream louder than a goat, and while it's disappointing that they didn't try to use this as a way to bring back Clueless Morgan, where it fails completely is that they didn't even bother getting the right scream for the goat. How do you mess that up? Unlike Pepe's Unbelievable Game Show, Lifestyle with Miss Piggy is featured in every episode. It's supposed to be lifestyle, and Piggy's frustration over that typo is funny the first time around, but since it appears in every installment in every episode, it just leaves you wondering, why don't they fix it? Anyway, this segment is all about Piggy showing off her glamorous life with her gay bestie, Uncle Deadly, a character reassignment I will never understand.
And we are going to boost my influence, let's not forget that!
Yes, of course. All right, what's this one called?
Oh yes, hashtag send me makeup!
All right.
Social media jokes! You know I love them! And if the Muppets have to make social media references, the most current platform they should be using is MySpace. Also joining Piggy in every segment of every episode is actor Taye Diggs. And I have no idea why. Piggy has on occasion flirted with the guest stars on The Muppet Show, more usually for the purposes of making Kermit jealous, but her repeated flirting with the same person in every episode is just uncomfortable. And it's not even established that she and Kermit are taking a break or something like in ABC's The Muppets. She just always has Taye Diggs around. Why?
I wouldn't mind having Taye Diggs around.
Maybe, but not for every review in which you appear.
Oh no, that would just be awkward.
She also holds frequent Zoom calls with a few random people and Linda Cardellini. You may have noticed that I referred to Taye Diggs as actor Taye Diggs because I actually know who he is. Linda Cardellini? No idea. The original Muppet Show, and no, I'm not going to apologize for the constant comparisons between the old and the new, featured one guest star per episode, giving them a chance to shine just in case you didn't know who they were. What's the point of having so many stars without even telling us who they are or what they do? And yes, apparently the contestants on Pepe'S game show are people of note as well, not that the show ever bothers to tell us that. In a later episode, Piggy is preparing for a trip to France, but because she doesn't know any French, she goes to the Swedish Chef for French lessons.
Okay.
Dessus.
Dessus.
Fur dessus.
Fur dessus. Fur dessus. Fur dessus. Hey, what does that mean?
Fur dessus.
What? Next is a segment called Muppet Masters, which is meant to showcase the hidden talents of our favorite Muppets. Since this is presented to us as something cultural and dignified, you might think that Sam Eagle would be hosting, but no, they gave that job to Walter, as he gives us the inside scoop on Kermit the Frog's talent for photobombing?
Yeah, see, I've been sneaking into the back of people's photos for years. I mean, as long as I can remember. It's kind of my secret hobby. You see, Walter, I'm not a photographer. I'm a photobomber.
No, you're not. You are not a photobomber. You're a consummate professional who wigs out whenever anything goes wrong. You do not photobomb. And if you want to do a bit where you have photography going wrong, why isn't it Kermit behind the camera while the overexcited little fanboy Walter is accidentally messing everything up?
Or, if it has to be photobombing specifically, why not have Fozzie or Gonzo do it?
Or what about Crazy Harry literally bombing photo shoots? Only slightly less insulting is Uncle Deadly showing off his skills in stage combat.
Each blade has its own place on the stage. This one, for example.
Ah, the cutlass.
Possibly. But it looks intimidating during a monologue.
Milkshakes are for closers.
Ah, and this one catches the spotlight perfectly.
Saber.
Mayhaps. It also works best in iambic pentameter.
Yeah?
If music be the food of love, play on. Ha-ha!
You know, I've heard that it's very important to know your blade. That's why I've learned all the parts of the sword.
Really?
See, yeah, right here, that's the grip and the chap.
Grabby part,
Yeah, and then that's the forte there, the strongest part of the blade.
slashy bit.
And at the tip there, that's the foible, or the thinnest part.
Aha! We call that part the stabby end.
It's fun seeing him in his dramatic element, but I'm sorry, I refuse to believe that Walter would know more about swords and swordplay than Uncle Friggin' Deadly.
What? No.
Parry!
Oh.
The riposte!
No, look, Walter. No, put that down.
Oh,
There. What? All right. On your feet. Play to the back of the theater.
The where?
Don't forget to be dramatic. And don't forget to smile.
my shirt.
What is the most important part of swordplay?
Foot placement?
Incorrect. The most important part of swordplay is panache. Oh. Now you've learned the most valuable lesson, young Walter.
Whoa, what's that?
Always leave the audience wanting more.
Or in this case, wanting any. Up Close and Personal is a talk segment which features another special guest star we haven't seen yet, as opposed to any of the guest stars we've seen so far, and maybe we'll learn some insight as to who these people are and what they're about, but don't count on it. In this bit with RuPaul, all we get is Kermit trying to conduct an interview, and all these other Muppets are interrupting. Why Kermit isn't losing his shit and yelling at them to get off the stage like he would under normal circumstances, I have no idea. We also have Bunsen and Beaker in Muppet Lab's field test, where I can only assume that Bunsen's gone mad after running into the Joker. Say, Beaker, do you want to know how I got these scars? Why, that's right, my father was a drinker and a fiend. Seriously, what is up with his mouth? It's bad enough that the writing's as terrible as it is. How'd they mess up the puppet construction, too? Anyway, rather than introducing us to some amazing new products, they just put a camera in a parking lot somewhere so they can have someone else spout off some 5th grade level science before randomly destroying shit. I think it's supposed to be a parody of the Mythbusters, but that's not what these characters are for. They're supposed to use science to make weird, ridiculous props, and inflict random destruction.
Really? The destruction is supposed to be focused on Beaker.
Yeah, about that. Beaker has taken many a hit in the name of science, and that's fine. It's all in good fun. But check this out. There's one point where they're destroying things using a hydraulic press, which ironically began with their attempt at destroying a stack of papers, which should have been more impressive than what we see here. But then Bunsen starts destroying Beaker's personal belongings, like his very first microscope, his science fair trophy, his grandmother's snow globe, a baseball signed by Babe Ruth, and his teddy bear. No. This does not happen. The absolute worst that Bunsen is supposed to do to Beaker is callously use him like a guinea pig. This isn't science, it's being an asshole. Look at this. Whoever edited this footage is putting Beaker in black and white, he's giving him sad music. The editor has more sympathy for Beaker than his best friend does. This is just horrible. But now it's time to talk about the most horrible segment in this felt-infested cringe fest, Okie Dokie Cookin'. I absolutely love the Swedish Chef, so of course he has to be made the subject of ridicule in the absolute worst part of the show. You might think it's a return to form, where the chef makes some dish that suddenly comes to life, or maybe he's trying to make something out of one of his co-stars, but nope. We're here to see some lady turkey humiliate the chef, who I guess forgot how to cook, by fawning over a new rotating guest chef who's here for no other reason than to upstage him.
Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing Carlina Will here doing her own show. But this is the Swedish Chef. I want to see the Swedish Chef. Look at his kitchen. It's decorated with fireworks, a saw, a chicken boiling on the stove, a tennis racket for his Swedish meatballs. Any chance we'll see him use any of that?
None whatsoever. We gotta let the ladies do some legitimate cooking, because apparently the Swedish Chef has a glass ceiling that needs smashing. Seriously, just what is the point of this? He's able to bake a pumpkin pie just by shooting a pumpkin with a bazooka. Why is he making literal garbage? What the hell did the Swedish Chef do that made these people think he deserves to be taken down a peg? Why was this entire production handled by people who have no idea who any of the Muppets are or what they do?
You go ahead and be offended by this mockery of the Swedish Chef all you want. I still contend that Bunsen is worse for destroying Beaker's teddy bear.
So, how do you take this steaming pile of gonzo guano and make it better? Basically, you don't fix what's not broken. 1. Get writers who are actually involved with writing the Muppets. Most of the writers on this series don't have any other writing credits to their name, and it really shows. 2. Variety. We have all of these Muppet characters with so many things they could be doing, so why do we keep reusing the same skits with the same jokes? 3. Involve the guest stars with what they actually do. Between me, Raven, and my special guest writer, Ben, we could only recognize Taye Diggs, Danny Trejo, and Seth Rogen. If the Muppets aren't going to get the biggest Hollywood stars that everybody recognizes, the least they can do is teach us who these people are by having them do what made them famous. 4, and this is the most important part, proper casting. It's always Kermit running the show. It's Fozzie making us laugh with unfunny jokes. It's Gonzo doing random stunts and calling it art. It's Sam Eagle desperately trying to imbue the show with a little culture. If Miss Piggy needs a stylist or a fashion consultant or whatever, you have Howard Tubman filling that niche, not Uncle Deadly. Oh yeah, and it's Swedish Chef providing craft services, not everyone else in the world. Some of you might be asking, what is the point of all this? And that is exactly the point. Too many people think that, oh, it's just TV, why should we care? But in all seriousness, we need to put as much thought and care into our television shows as we do our movies. Jim Henson saw the potential in the TV screen like a painter looks at a piece of canvas. And that is what we need to do as well, or else we just end up with more crap like this.
Oh, does this mean we're done with the terrible tubes?
Unfortunately, we'll never be done with the terrible tubes until we start taking the medium of television a lot more seriously. But the important thing is, we can finally watch what we want to watch again.
Oh, can we watch some real Thundercats?
Yes, we can. But first, I need to see some real Muppets. See you later.
was Bob Shaw.
I think I'll stick with the Animes. They're less confusing.
En skirgers voor de svergeber. Yo, Shatsu. Geboor skwer. Hinges hoorn de cake en smoosher. Hij kan schommen show. Hayo! Yes, geboor.
Subscribe, like, follow, comment.